Welcome to this week's episode of Foresting Tomorrow. And once again, we're on the road, outside of the studio. And this time around, we are in Sweden at the Elmia Wood fair, just south of Jönköping.
Yep.
Right, Benjamin?
Yes. Right.
And at least for me, it's always been like a bucket list thing to come here.
Yeah, the same for me. I was supposed to be here 2 years ago, but something came in the way. So I'm happy to be here now.
Yeah, and we're actually here with our own company, forestry.com, showcasing this and talking to potential new customers, I hope. But it's been good so far. So Elmia Wood, for those that don't know Elmia Wood, most probably do. It's just south of Jönköping. It's actually the 50-year anniversary. It's quite a milestone. And the theme of this year, which fits nicely into what we do, is AI and innovation for the future of forestry. So for us, that's a nice theme. Yeah. Of course, we were here yesterday, so we had also some time to just go around, have a look.
Yeah.
What did we see, Benjamin?
We saw a lot of things, a lot of machines, a lot of wood chips on the floor, a lot of the big forestry brands.
A lot of people.
A lot of people. Yeah, we're not used to this many people from the fairs in Denmark.
No.
We saw some chainsaws,
Lots of chainsaws.
competitions, and some simulators.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Farming simulator.
Yeah, that's quite funny.
Yeah, pretty much everything related to forestry is here. So quite exciting.
Yeah, and also if you sort of look at what we normally do, software for forest management, there's also a lot of technology companies here that do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Drones, AI is a really big thing.
Yeah.
So it's nice to talk to colleagues in the business that do something similar to what we do.
Yeah.
Cool, but so the main feature of this episode is actually a talk that we're gonna do on the Wood Talk scene, I think it's called. We're sitting next to an innovation talk scene, but there's another scene where we're gonna be hosting a session together with another Danish company called the Aeon Group, who will come here later today. It'll be quite interesting, and hopefully there'll come a lot of guys listening in.
Yeah. Let's see.
Let's see. It's here at noon for 30 minutes, and we'll cut this into the episode when it's recorded. So see you in a bit.
See you.
And today's theme of this podcast is we're going to explore how forest data isn't just about documentation, but how it can also feed strategy and lead to impact that truly scales. That's the headline, right?
Yes.
Super. So before we dive into the discussion, we'll just start by presenting those on the stage. So if everyone could do a brief introduction to themselves and the company that they represent, and maybe Bolette, we should start with you.
Yes, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Bolette Brix, and I'm the director of a company called Aeon Group, which is a startup company where we work within advisory and software within this space.
And my name is Benjamin. I work with Jens.
Yep.
And I'm a forest and landscape engineer, and we are developing a forest management platform, building software for forest management. We're based in Denmark.
Yep.
Yes, and my name is Mads. I'm an investment specialist within land use change. So looking at how do we do reforestation projects and nature projects and conversion of conventional agriculture, and how do we finance that. So that's some of the things that I work with, and also the data part. So how do we collect different ecosystem data that we can use to finance projects. And I'm also from Aeon Group.
Super. So Benjamin, let's start with you. In your normal day of work, you talk to a lot of forest owners and forest managers. and you see how data plays a role in terms of daily operation. So the first question to you would be, why is it important to have up-to-date data when making decisions in forestry?
Yeah, I mean, forestry is quite unique, a unique industry. You know, we plant trees, and 150 years later they are ready to be harvested. So the decisions we make early on can have a huge impact later down the line. So I think you are able to make better decisions when you have precise data to work with. You are able to make the right decisions, and those, making the right decisions will have a great impact down the line.
Yeah. So how can good documentation and traceability help in forest management?
Yeah, and that's also one of the things. We call it license to operate. You know, a lot of people have a lot of opinions on forestry. We're supposed to leave all the trees to grow, not harvest them, not use them in furniture and products that can hold on the carbon and so on. So I think being able to document what you do is important to be able to continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And most forest managers I know, they think a lot about how they work and doing it in a sustainable way. So yeah, being able to document it just is a good way to keep it going.
Yeah.
And maybe if I can just add a little bit to that, I think it's also about communicating to your supply chain and to the customers, and especially the end users who often have an opinion about the forest management or how it all works without actually being down in the trenches. So being able to brand how you're doing sustainable foraging or what other benefits that the forest is also providing is a great value proposition to customers, so that you can also sell your wood at a premium to customers if you can present all of the good things that you're doing and document that.
Exactly, and I think I also think that might have changed, recently with new landowners coming in. They want this, this proof, and they're more into the detail, or they want the detail of how the operation is going, right?
Yeah.
Good. So Benjamin, how do you think day-to-day forestry work will change in the coming years as people start using data more actively in their operation?
Yeah, it stems a bit back to what I said in the first question. Better decisions, and also new technology is arising. We've talked with a lot of people with drones that can fly through the forest and give you an exact inventory of every single tree. So the more precision forestry is on the rise, and I think that will make for good decision making down the line. So I think we have a lot of good data incoming in the industry.
And maybe also just to add a little bit to that in terms of how do we get data onto to actually work with it. A lot of these software solutions where you can also present your forest and digitalize it. It also opens up for a lot of opportunities to utilize drones and put that into a platform. Maybe have some LiDAR data or satellite as well, so you can start combining data sources and both use it from an operational perspective, but also from a investment perspective. And you can start building data products on top of a great data foundation that you're utilizing.
Yeah, and a lot of forest owners and companies out there, they want everything all at once. So having sort of a place to gather it all and be able to show graphs and statistics and things from your data I think will be a big thing.
But how do we do it in the past? It almost seems like we were doing everything in blind before, with the lack of all that data.
Yeah, good question.
Think of Mogens and your old internship. He's taken care of that for us for many years. I mean, of course, he has a lot of information stored in his head, and he has good senses, eyes and ears and everything. But it's a different new world that we're looking into.
Can I maybe add to that?
Of
Because
course.
I do not have a forest background. I have studied technology and economic, but the first time and I experienced how forestry is actually managed and where can I actually get these data to figure out how you can forecast, for instance, carbon sequestration in trees. I learned that I need to buy the little red book because everything were placed in that book.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I cannot find those data anywhere, or where should I actually search for it? And that was actually the funny thing
you're
about
right.
how I think it worked traditionally in the head, and then in the little red book that was
The Bible
the Bible.
in Danish forestry.
So now in Sweden, so do we have a little blue book here? Maybe.
Maybe.
But I think it also adds well into our topic today in terms of what scales.
Yeah.
Because everything is in the local forestry person's head, and in a little book, it's hard to scale to larger operations and utilize data across different forests and assets. So how do we start to collect all of that knowledge that's in the you could say the experts' heads and start using that across?
Super.
Yeah.
But Mads, let's go on with you then. So how does data-focused approach open new opportunities for forest owners to enhance efficiency, sustainability, and profitability in their operation?
So I think there's quite a few different objectives depending on what type of forest owner we're looking at. Because if you're a large pension fund or other type of investor, an impact investor and so forth, you might have some objectives that you are looking for to achieve with data. And if you're a local forest owner, you have a completely different set of objectives that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I think from across whatever stakeholder we're working with, it's about having the foundation in the right place. So your data, what's quality is that? And then you can start building data solutions on top of the same foundation, actually. So I think a good example is how your platform is sort of putting all of the foundational data together.
Yep.
And then we can start looking at what type of AI solutions can we add to this to make predictive analytics and predictive maintenance in the forest or precision data. We can start adding data on top from other sources such as satellite or LiDAR data and so forth. So we can start building different products on top of the foundation that we have. And then when we're looking at sort of the maybe a little bit further down the line with the pension funds, how do we report to them? How do we make sure that they understand what they're investing into, how it's performing, and that it's not too detailed, but you can actually aggregate data up on a level? Because if you're working with pension funds that have thousands of hectares of forestry investments, how do you actually report on all of that and on a carbon perspective? And you can start adding new revenue streams such as biodiversity or protecting groundwater, and you can start utilizing that for pension funds also invest more into this. So you can actually start also making it more attractive from that perspective.
Can I maybe add on that?
Sure.
Because you can maybe also think why I'm also talking about pension funds suddenly when we're talking about forest management and forest owners, but that's also what taps into the trend. It's not only the technology that is elaborating and evolving, but we also see this market trend where more and more private companies and pension funds are asking for those kind of data. And then you are sitting there with the red book and thinking, oh shit, how should I find those data they are asking for if they are not documented or placed in one sort of truth where you can actually give it to them so they can utilize it for reporting and so that's just what it tap into.
And I think especially also a lot of end buyers of these products, forestry products, would like to have some kind of security so that they don't get attacked for greenwashing or saying something that they're not, that they can't support from a data perspective. So it's also sort of an insurance that you can use when you're selling your products, especially to large corporations that are in the sort of this eyesight of the public, and they're looking at them, and they're supposed to show the way in terms of sustainability as well.
Yeah.
So being able to link that down to your end products, and
What kind of new companies are looking into forestry? Of course, you say pension funds. Are there any other players that are looking into forestry?
Yeah, I mean, they're companies that are looking into forestry in different ways.
Yeah.
So some are, of course, looking at it from a carbon perspective. So either investing into to land where they're doing reforestation projects, or investing into carbon credits where they're supporting forestry projects. And I think it's very different from company to company in terms of appetite and how much they're investing into this. But we are definitely seeing a trend where nature as a whole, or natural capital, is on the rise. Also, I think, a lot of these investment companies that are doing investments into these projects are still very traditional, where you can see there can be potentially quite a lot of boosting in terms of revenue by doing it smarter, but also presenting projects in a different way to investors.
Yeah.
But I think it's all about getting more capital into this space, and trying to figure out how do we collect all of this data in multiple ways, not just for cutting down the trees or operations, but also from end users, investing, and so forth.
Yeah.
And maybe I can add to that, because you can put it in two boxes, so to say, where you have those investing for sustainable investing, because they might have some regulations they need to live up to. So there could be private companies that are producing, that could be furnitures, where they need to know now what is the impact actually on the supply chain or further down the line. So they need to understand where are the woods coming from, where we actually utilize that for furniture. That is one leg. And then you also have the one making impact investments. For instance, that could be the pension funds, where you also need some kind of return, and you also need to put your money into something that can give some good economic value, but also some environmental value. And you also need to make sure that you did not harm any people down the line. And how should you prove that if you do not have data and documentation on it?
Yeah.
So there's these two trends, or groups of investors, I would say, or people looking into this space that would like to actually buy more and more from forest owners. That's a trend that we see, at least.
Yeah. I remember listening into a talk maybe 2 years ago with you at Naturmødet in Denmark, and I think is it 2? No, it's 1 year ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you talked about how comfortable these companies are in terms of fraud and what's it called, greenwashing and everything. What's the sort of state of these companies now? Is it the same, or is it are they getting more comfortable?
I would say it's still tricky, because you need to know which kind of standards should we actually utilize if we are going to invest into this space, or if you're going to use data for reporting purposes under the EU regulation. So I think it's getting more and more mature, but we have seen different trends in the past just year and two, where you have the greenwashing, and then you have the greenhushing, and then you didn't even want to say that you are investing into these kind of stuff, because you are afraid of people would like to claim you for something. So I think it's still not mature enough, I would say, because people are afraid. But we see that the more and more good data quality we get, and the more standards we can look out for to actually compare how your company are doing compared to my company, then it will be more and more easy. So it just needs to evolve and getting more mature. Then I think it will be much more comfortable to invest into this space.
Yeah. Who are those that needs to sort of make it more comfortable? Are these the universities, or who's the players that needs to help on this?
I think it's a really good question, because I think we need to collaborate even more than we were used to before, because now you see a furniture company would like to know which kind of data and documentation that is used for a forest owner. That is two types of people that need to work together now. And then you have some universities that need to maybe make sure that there's quality in data. And then you might also have a municipality, because they are the ones you need to maybe have approval that you can put up a forest. So suddenly you have a lot of players that need to work together. And of course, maybe it will work in parallel. So the universities, I know for sure, they are running as fast as they can to figure out how we can make the best models and predictive models to actually say something qualitative about data. So I would say it's something we need to do in collaboration with each other, and a lot is going on at the moment.
Yeah. Do you think that's mostly on a national scale, or it's also working across borders?
For some years, it have worked a lot on local basis, but now I think everybody can see that we need it to be more scaled to globally standards or international standards, or just within EU, so we can also help these kind of new types of investors, so they are actually able to compare the data and the outcome with each other. Otherwise, they will never get comfortable doing it if we're doing it one way in Denmark and another way in Sweden, and a totally different way in UK. Then how can I make sure that the way I'm doing it is the right way? So we need it to be more at scale before we get that good, comfortable feeling in the stomach.
Yeah, and it's important with a good, comfortable feeling in the stomach.
Exactly.
Yeah, that drives everything. Okay, so what untapped opportunities could a robust data foundation unlock for the forestry sector, such as new markets or operational efficiencies?
So yeah, maybe I can talk a little bit into that. I think for operational efficiencies, I'll let you talk a little bit. Yeah, you can say how. Then I'll try and I can speak from a Danish perspective here, where we see that there's a lot of different objectives that we're aiming to reach on a national level in terms of reducing nitrogen levels and protecting our biodiversity, increasing our carbon storage, and so forth. So there's a lot of different objectives that forestry can play into and can support. And by having different data sources, not just on carbon, but also on what it means for biodiversity or for nitrogen levels and so forth, we can start adding new objectives into this area. So we can have a water utility company that's looking to protect groundwater. They can help finance the reforestation project or a forestation project in general. Yeah. And these types of different, also from a public perspective, in terms of raising forest, you can start tapping into new investments or new support that I don't think we've seen as much before. But it also requires that we have the data to support it, so that we can say, if we have this forest, what does it actually have of impact in terms of protecting our groundwater or reducing the nitrogen level into the fjords and so forth. So from a public perspective, semi-public with the utility companies, you definitely see that there are new opportunities there. Yeah. And from a impact investor perspective, having these data available is also an attractive add-on. Of course, return is still important, but it's the combination of return and impact that you want. So if you can start categorizing these types of investments into a field where you can actually attract new investors, that's also a great opportunity. And yeah, and from a operational perspective, I'll let you.
Just a second, Benjamin. Just to add some perspective on what you just said, Mads. Maybe you could just briefly talk about what's going on with this whole new land change thing that's going on in Denmark, because you touched upon a lot of things that sort of tied to that.
Yes. So in Denmark we have the Green Tri-Party, where we're doing probably the largest land use change in all of Denmark's history.
Yeah.
Or at least, in the recent.
You can comment on that one.
The last 200 years.
The last 200 years, yeah. We cut down the whole forest before that. but yeah, so that also means that there are a lot of different objectives that the Danish state and EU is looking to achieve, and they're subsidizing a lot of these changes to make it more attractive to actually convert conventional agriculture into forestry, nature parks, and wetlands, and so forth.
Yeah.
But all of that, it requires that we have some kind of data to support and say, well, we are actually achieving these objectives to get this type of subsidies. But the more we can stack the different objectives on top of each other, the more financing we can also get, and the more attractive the investments also becomes from a private investor perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good. And
Well, I will keep it quite short, but it's also tied to what I said before. Good decisions, good decision making, and I think it all starts with the forest manager, and it's all tied together with what you said. If he has the correct data and precise data, and he can make the right decisions, you can also, get the data you need further up in the value chain to be precise and.
And maybe just to mention this, because this is something that we, both on the mic discuss quite a bit, but also off the mic, projects like Single Tree Project, where you have, extremely detailed information about, every stem and every sort of part in the whole ecosystem around the forestry. I mean, it's a really exciting and interesting field, just to see, how this new level of information can actually be utilized.
Yeah, and most of we talked about the red book, and the old yield tables are built on even forestry, clear-cut management, and at least a lot of places they are pushing for sort of selective thinning or near nature or close to nature management, and I think our yield tables won't fit that sort of management. So having single tree inventory of a close to nature management system, I think will be very valuable.
Yeah. Is that like a forester's wet dream?
As someone who likes close to nature, probably, yeah.
Good. So time is just ticking, and we're about to wrap up. So
Can I please add something then?
Yeah, but there's also more questions.
Okay, there's more questions. Okay, but it was just to add what Mads and Benjamin just discussed, and something we need to really underline after this conversations, that data is gold, data is power.
Yep.
So make sure that you know where the data are and they are collected, because then you can take better decisions, and it also have a value on it, a value tag. So you might get very new streams as a forest owner. That's just one of the points for today.
Yeah, to be honest, it's really important, because I mean that's also some of the stuff that Rasmus and I was discussing, early back when we created the company. It was also, I mean, the lack of insights that the landowners sometimes have in terms of course they know the forest, but they don't really know the data for the forest. It's hopefully that will change.
Mm.
So in what ways can data foster collaboration between forest owners, tech providers, and investors, and so by drive new innovation in the sector? That'll probably be our final question.
Yeah. So I think it creates a common language for everyone to speak and to collaborate in terms of what role each stakeholder has and how they can contribute to the projects that they're doing, to the forestry and so forth. So I think as a general way of communicating, because it is often a very detailed, very expert level that one stakeholder might have, and when you have tech providers like all of us, who I'm less an expert in the forestry parts, but I can understand the data, or how do we communicate data. So in that regard, you can actually start working better together, and also presenting what impact that you're doing, or about your products, or your forestry in general. And also maybe I think there's been a lot of talk about biodiversity in the forest. So instead of just seeing forestry as one asset, but maybe seeing it more of an ecosystem of how we can collaborate across the board and achieve multiple objectives with our forestry.
Yeah, cool. So I said it was the last question, but here's the last question, and then I'll stop. So the returning crystal ball question. 10 years ahead. How does it look in terms of data and insights and stuff like that? So who want to go first?
I mean, I think already in Denmark and Sweden we have laser scans, for example, of the country, and I think those type of data will be maybe more common, more frequent.
So remote sort of sense data.
Yeah, I think it will have a huge impact if you both need to keep track of carbon in the forest and so on. You need it frequent. So I think we'll see a lot of that.
Cool. Maybe just a follow-up question for all of you on that one. Do you think that would be government-based or private sector-based?
It's a good question.
I think it would be private sector based, just because it will be market driven. And when there's a capitalization opportunity there, I think it will be driven by the private sector. But of course, from a regulatory perspective, it'll definitely be something that will give tailwind to this industry. But
And it should be market driven, and also for the consumers, they need to make the drive too. So we need more and more people to fight for this. So I also hope we see that when we have the data quality, we also are able to record the transparency in data, and then we also have all the history behind, where you can actually just log up and see what decision were made, and based on what kind of data. You have everything recorded, and you can always look back.
Yeah, and then the two of you on
our
the final
10 years,
question.
10 years ahead. I think we'll see a huge impact on AI, and especially from a satellite perspective, because we'll get so much more data, and from a global perspective as well.
Yeah.
So those two industries are in huge development right now. So I think the combination of big data from satellite imagery and combining it with AI will provide a lot of details that we don't have right now. But also from a forest operation perspective, you can get almost daily data from all of the different satellites that are up there. So you'll being able to combine data with AI across both weather forecasts and biodiversity and so forth. I think it will be interesting to see how all of these different data sources will be intertwined with each other to provide meaningful information or decision making.
If I could add to that, I totally agree with the AI part, but I also think the blockchain part will raise again.
It's funny, it's been a while since we heard about blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. But now you also see the huge company like Vera, the standard for all this carbon credits and biodiversity credits and so on. They are making collaborations now with Hedera, which is one of the biggest blockchains in the world. So now we're actually starting to see these kind of collaborations that we are looking forward to follow. We have worked a lot within this space ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
So when we have all the data quality, we have the transparency, we have all the AI to predict how we can intertwine all the data sources, you also need the price tag on. And when it's a commodity, you also would like to have something that can help you to transfer ownerships and also make sure that you have it safe in somewhere. That could be in a wallet, for instance.
Yep.
So that's how I see the future in 10 years. I hope so.
Yeah. But I think, again, it needs to be market-driven.
Exactly.
And there needs to be some kind of capital gain from all of this technology. So it'll be interesting to see how that will balance out in terms of how much detail do we actually need down on a forest level does it have a business case? Because for tech people like us, it's also a interesting and a passion to see how much can we get out of this. But if somebody needs to pay for all of that as well. So
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap up. So thank you, Bolette, and thank you, Mads, for attending this one. And I mean, Benjamin, you're bound to be on the mic.
Thank you, Jens.
But also thank you to you.
Yes.
So that's it. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.